Today we are talking about civil rights, social justice, and the gun control debate. Florida recently passed a law that restricts the sale of rifles to people under the age of 21, and in response, the National Rifle Association is filing a lawsuit. We also heard that Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart have enacted a company policy that no one under the age of 21 will be allowed to buy firearms in their stores, prompting lawsuits in Oregon and in Michigan. Now, the gun control debate is ridiculously complicated, and I've heard a lot of arguments from all sides, a lot of good ones and a lot of bad ones. I can't tell you how much I have read in terms of statistics and trying to figure out what is going on. It is almost impossible for me to give you a definitive statement one way or the other, so my stance on the gun control debate is relatively, well, I don't really have one because I don't know enough. But one thing did come to mind when I was reading about these stories. Age is a protected class, and this is what's prompted the lawsuits against Dick's and Walmart. Now, these companies have claimed they're going to defend their position, which makes me wonder, are some protected classes under the Civil Rights Act better or more important than others? The gun debate tends to flare up whenever we have one of these shootings, one of these tragedies. And certainly the arguments we're hearing now are not new. Before I get into all of that, let me give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, all of you guys. If you haven't already, go to patreon.com/Timcast and become a patron. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Yesterday was my birthday, and I said it would be great if we hit 1,000 patrons, and we did. Right on the money. That's awesome. You guys rock. If you click Become a Patron, you can support my work by giving whatever you feel comfortable. At Tier 1, at $10 per month, you get access to behind-the-scenes photos and videos. From when I'm out in the field and reporting, there will be bonus material. So please consider becoming a patron and supporting my work at whatever level you feel comfortable today. Now, what I really want to talk about today is sort of the mechanical issues of civil rights law as it pertains to the recent decisions by these companies. But first, let's look at the first story, the National Rifle Association's lawsuit in Florida. From the BBC, Florida shooting. NRA sues as Florida enacts gun control law. Governor Rick Scott, a staunch ally of the gun lobby, enacted the bill which the NRA says violates the Constitution. The law raises the legal age for buying rifles in Florida, but allows the training and arming of school staff. It does not ban semi-automatic rifles like the one used in the 14 February massacre in Parkland. But it does introduce a 3-day waiting period on all gun sales and a ban on bump stocks, a device that enables semi-automatic rifles to fire hundreds of rounds per minute. The NRA filed its lawsuit on Friday, just an hour after the bill was signed by the governor. One of its arguments is that the legislation violates the rights of young women, as they are unlikely to commit violent crime. Females between the ages of 18 and 21 pose a relatively slight risk of perpetrating a school shooting, or, for that matter, a violent crime of any kind, says the lawsuit. It also points out that men of 21 to 24, just outside the new age limit, account for more violent crime arrests than men aged 18 to 21. They say that the law affects young women negatively when they are not as responsible for these mass shootings, and that's true. Women account for a very small percentage of mass shootings. Looking at a story from NBC News from 2015 following the San Bernardino shooting, it says, it's rare for a mass shooter to be female. Less than 3% of killers in public mass shootings over the last 3 decades have been women, according to a database compiled by Mother Jones. Even in the broader category of mass killings, which includes other methods of execution, such as arson, only 6% of perpetrators are female, according to a database compiled by USA Today. So what is the alternative? If mostly men are the ones perpetrating these mass killings, can Florida restrict the sale of firearms based on gender? Well, they're doing it based on age, and age is a protected class in many instances. I don't know the specifics about Florida, but age, gender, identity, national origin, religion, etc. tend to be protected classes. So this got me thinking, if they can restrict based on age, and we already do, say tobacco and other firearms and alcohol, is restricting the sale or public accommodation to one protected class okay, and not in other instances? This is a complicated issue, right? You've got to be 21 to drink, and we typically understand why age laws exist. But it gets particularly interesting when we look at the lawsuits in Oregon and in Michigan. A 20-year-old sues Dick's and Walmart because they wouldn't sell him a rifle. This is from CNN. A 20-year-old Oregon man has filed separate lawsuits against Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart, accusing the retailers of age discrimination for not selling him a rifle. The age limit to buy a firearm legally in Oregon is 18. Dick's raised its age limit for firearms purchase to 21 after the February 14 mass shooting at Parkland, Florida high school. The shooter in the massacre was 19. Walmart also said last week that it would only sell guns and ammunition to people over 21. When Tyler Watson walked into a Field & Stream store owned by Dick's in Medford, Oregon on February 24th, intending to buy a .22 caliber rifle, he was told no based on the retailer's new policy, his lawsuit says. By denying plaintiff the sale of a rifle and/or ammunition for a rifle based on plaintiff's age, defendant has committed illegal age discrimination in public accommodations in violation of ORS 659A-403, says the suit filed Monday in Jackson County Circuit Court in Oregon. Now, this law says, except as provided in subsection 2 of this section, all persons within the jurisdiction of the state are entitled to the full and equal accommodations, advantages, facilities, and privileges of any place of public accommodation without any distinction, discrimination, or restriction on account of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, marital status, or age, if the individual is of age, as described in this section or older. It goes on to state that this law does not prohibit age restrictions when selling alcohol, marijuana, or the offering of special rates or services to persons 50 years of age or older. I am no legal expert, but it certainly seems like in Oregon, a store cannot discriminate based on a wide variety of factors, and age is a protected class as it pertains to Oregon state law, in which many people do believe that this young man will be successful. Now, there is a similar suit happening in Michigan because Michigan also has a law protecting age. According to The Hill, an 18-year-old Michigan man has filed a lawsuit against Dick's Sporting Goods over its decision not to sell guns to anyone under the age of 21. Tristan Fulton, a high school senior and son of a gun shop owner, filed a lawsuit on Tuesday after the sporting goods store in Troy, Michigan refused to sell him a firearm. "I'm 18, Fulton said Thursday. I'm legally allowed to purchase a firearm, and I should have been allowed to. By denying me my right to purchase a firearm that day, they violated the Elliott Larsen Civil Rights Act," he added. And the Elliott Larsen Civil Rights Act says, except where permitted by law, a person shall not deny an individual the full and equal enjoyment of the goods, services, facilities, privileges, advantages, or accommodations of a place of public accommodation or public service because of religion, race, color, national origin, age, sex, or marital status. So again, it seems like Michigan falls into a similar category. There is a protection for public goods based on age, just like religion, race, sex, etc. But here is where it gets interesting. In a statement, a spokesman said Walmart would respond in court when it received the lawsuit. "In light of recent events, we reviewed our policy on firearm sales. As a result, we raised the age restriction for the purchase of firearms and ammunition to 21 years of age," said Randy Hargrove, Walmart's National Media Relations Senior Director. "We stand behind our decision and plan to defend it." This got me thinking, are there some protected classes under civil rights law that deserve more protection than others? If after, say, the Orlando shooting, Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart decided that they didn't want to sell guns to people based on their religion, and then when confronted about it, they said they planned to defend their position, I'm curious what the reaction is going to be. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I can say I personally do think it's not fair that women, young women, are not going to be allowed to buy weapons simply because more men are committing acts of violence. At the same time, it is a conundrum. You can't tell only men they can't buy guns. So how do you deal with this? I almost feel like there's no real clear-cut way to do it, other than a blanket ban across all demographics for the actions of a specific demographic. It gets pretty damn confusing, and it gets pretty damn complicated. But here's what I can say. I don't think most people care about principles. I don't think most people care about rights. I think they care about politics. Certainly, some people would say the Second Amendment is extremely important, so you have to act as a watchdog against these businesses who want to violate civil rights law. If a young person wants to buy a gun, it is their right so long as they're over the age of 18. At the same time, we have similar cases. Like I mentioned, the bakery that said we don't want to service a gay couple, but the Supreme Court saying they had to. I think these young men are going to win their lawsuits, but I really don't know what to expect. I can say that I find it interesting that if Walmart chose to discriminate against a different protected class, say religion or gender, then they would have a massive backlash because of it. We'll see if there's a backlash because of age. We'll also see if there's a backlash because it involves guns. It's a very complicated story that kind of overlaps different political factions, and I don't know if there's going to be an appropriate response from either side. But I guess this is where you come in. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think some protected classes are more deserving of protection than others? Do you think some protected classes deserve an exemption from civil rights law? If the law clearly states age and religion in the same law, in the same paragraph, then certainly they must be treated equally, right? Comment below and let me know what you think. We'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Twitter at Timcast. Stay tuned, new videos every day at 4 p.m. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.